What up everyone, this is Tex from the B-Boy Federation, back with another video blog. Today we're going to be talking about practices, how to practice, different types of practices, and different techniques you can use to sort of help level yourself up as quick as possible. So let's get into it. So first things first, if you like the track that's playing in the background, make sure you check out the information below. The artist name is Deela. Just came across it, really like it, so make sure you look them up, support them, check them out. And each time we do these video blogs, we'll try and shout out the artists and the stuff that we're looking up. It's kind of fun, new music, we all love new music. Practicing, right? We all have to do it. It's something that we all do as b-boys or dancers or whoever. You go to practice, you try to get new moves, you try to get better at your style, your craft, and the things that you like doing, so that when you go to battles, competitions, ciphers, wherever, you can be better than you were the last time anyone saw you. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is stretching. I know none of us like to stretch. I don't like to stretch, but I'm sorry, you need to do it. Why? It's obvious, because you don't want to get hurt. I know a lot of you are like 10 years old, 16 years old, 13 years old. You may not need to stretch as much, but stretch anyway, because if you're working on power, if you're working on tricks, if you're working on footwork, it doesn't really matter what you're working on. B-boying is very intense and very hard on your body. And if you don't warm up and if you don't stretch properly, you may not get hurt today, but you're going to get hurt someday. And you don't want to get hurt in a way that puts you out of the game, for weeks or months at a time. So stretch. I don't care if it's 10 minutes or like me, I'm stretching for like a half hour before I get really warm. Stretch, get warm. It actually will make you better. If I'm really stretched and really warm, I can hit a lot of moves that I can't hit when I'm cold. The second thing in practice is know how to practice, right? Know how to break down a move that you're trying to learn. We'll take flares, for example. If you're trying to learn flares, know how to break that move down into its individual movements so that you know what you're working on. You know if you're not kicking one of your legs correctly. You know if you're not planting your hands correctly. You know if your body's rotating and it shouldn't be. Know how your moves are composed so that you can break them down and work on those elements, because frankly, if I don't know how to do flares or how I'm supposed to do flares, I can come to practice and work on it for hours and hours and hours. It doesn't guarantee that I'm going to get it. It doesn't mean that I'm going to learn it just because I do it a bunch of times. A bunch of crappy flares is a bunch of crappy flares. If you don't know how to improve it and make it better, they're not going to get better. Building on this topic, this is why so many people stress learning your foundation. You may not like it, but the reason they call it foundation is because everything is built on top of that. If you can't handstand, I wouldn't expect to have very good freezes or hand hops. If you can't do, six-step, I wouldn't, expect to be able to create some intricate patterns or to learn how to build around to the music. Learn your foundational elements, learn to build on top of that your style and your moves and the things that you like to do based on what you've learned in the past. And this is kind of how we practice, right? We show up and we say, okay, I learned six-step, I have six-step, so how can I create a pattern? How can I change my direction? How can I change my levels to make what I'm doing look more original and more complex, right? These are concepts that we should be thinking about while we're at practice. The third thing, or another thing I should say, at practice that I want to stress that I feel like a lot of people overlook is learn how to crash. You should be crashing at practice, so you should learn how to crash. You shouldn't be just boom and just letting it happen and crashing wherever, right? Because that's how you're going to get hurt. And one of the things I see the most that people do is they bail. You get in a move, you get in a thing that you're learning, and you're going to fall, you're going to crash. So what do? Everyone just gives up. They bail, they push off, they just, and they let whatever happens happen. Why do I not want you to bail? Okay, so if I'm working on a move, if I'm working on a handstand freeze, if I'm working on chairs, if I'm working on power, for example, when you do this, your body is always really tense. We're flexing our muscles, we're squeezing, we're doing this. When you bail, you tend to relax. When you relax all those muscles as you're falling, it's a great way to pull a muscle, it's a great way to tear something in your shoulder, it's a great way to blow your knee out, because you have all this tension here, and then when you relax, you just let it go. So my arm could go anywhere, anything could happen. Don't bail out of movements. That's a really great way to hurt your neck. It's a really great way to bust your shoulders up. Try and control your crash, because so much of our movements are about control. You should be able to control when you're falling as well. If I'm way up here and I'm going to fall this way, I don't want to just boom, bail and let it happen. I want to try and control it. Maybe I can drop it into a freeze. Maybe I can drop it into something else. Learn to control your crashes. Learn to control your falls. You may create another move out of it. You may be crashing in a battle and find a way to save it without just, falling. The last thing I want to talk about with a practice technique is wear pads, wear whatever protective gear you have to wear at practice to make it happen. It sounds dumb. A lot of you don't like to do it, but for me, I've been dancing for 13 years, and I tell you what, if I'd have started wearing a knee pad 8 years ago, my knees wouldn't be busted up, my elbows wouldn't be busted up. Find a b-boy who's been dancing for 10 years or more and ask them how their elbows and their knees and probably their wrists and shoulders are doing. I guarantee they're all busted up. Why? Because we all started when we were 15 or 16 years old and we didn't wear pads. Why is this important? Well, say I'm gonna learn head spins, for example, or baby windmills, for example. Right? I'm gonna learn these two moves. The only way I'm gonna learn them is through repetition. So I'm gonna have to go to practice and do head spin drills, right, for hours and hours and hours. Do baby drills for hours and hours and hours, because I need that repetition and I need to build that muscle memory and that technique into my body. Now, when I go to a battle, I'm not gonna be doing head spins for hours and hours and hours. I'm gonna do power for hours and hours and hours. And so it's not as hard on my body, so I don't have to wear as much protective, material and protective clothing. I don't have to wear a helmet at a battle because I'm not going to be head spinning at any moment. Wear those pads, wear that protection. I guarantee it will help you get better, and you don't have to wear it at the battle. Learn to progressively sort of take that gear off so that you can show up to a battle, or show up to a jam, or show up to a party or a club or whatever, and just sort of get down with whatever you're wearing. But while you're at practice, protect yourself. Maybe you agree with some of the things I've said, maybe you don't, maybe you have a different opinion on some things. Let us know in the comments, shoot us an email, let us know what you think, let us know if there's any tricks or tips that you have for practice that you think are great. If you have anything that you want to ask us about, you want to ask us how we practice, you want to ask me how I work on a move, you want to ask us about battle strategies, tactics, anything that you think that we should talk about in a video blog, email us, comment, let me know. Maybe we'll put something like that together for you. So also make sure you check out the sponsors, make sure you check out the website, support them, support us, and we'll see you guys at practice, and we'll see you guys in the ciphers, we'll see you guys in the battles. Peace.